For decades, VFX has followed a simple pipeline. If something isn't perfect in a CG render, we'll fix it in comp. So that's why CG compositing exists the way it does today, breaking the images into passes, rebuild it, and control everything in a compositing software. But now NVIDIA is proposing something very different. What if you don't need to rebuild the CG render at all? What if AI gives you something that already looks like a finished render? And if it works the NVIDIA the way it suggests, the CG compositing task will reduce, but not in the way that most people expect. Recently, NVIDIA introduced DLSS 5, the way they describe as a real-time neural rendering model. Instead of just enhancing the images, it replaces the pixel with photoreal lighting and materials. So, as mentioned in the article, the system takes color buffer and motion vectors and reconstructs a more realistic image that stays consistent to the original 3D scene and remains temporarily consistent across all the frames. So, the demo itself tells how early it still is. It ran on two RTX 5090 GPUs, one for rendering and one dedicated entirely to run the AI model in real time. NVIDIA says the goal is to bring down this into a single GPU setup by launch. So that detail also matters because it tells you it does not just a future, it is a new layer in rendering pipeline. So how DLSS 5 actually works? At the high level, it does something deceptively simple. It takes a single frame's color and motion vector and feeds into a AI model that recreates how the image should look. The two key questions matter here. What AI model they are actually using? So basically, NVIDIA doesn't disclose this hexast architecture. Based on their previous DLSS versions, it's likely to a spatio-temporal neural network. It understands the spatial details, actually a image content, and maintain temporal consistency across all the frames. So this is not technically a generative diffusion model. It is a reconstruction model trained to map low quality input to high quality output. As a disclaimer, it is just an assumption only. So until unless they release their own statement, the another question is DLSS generating motion vectors in real time? Maybe no. Also because they didn't put exactly the motion vectors has been generated in real time. So DLSS depends on engine provided motion vectors, depth scene data. From the article, it seems it does not create the motion understanding from scratch. Thus, dependency is also critical because it defines where DLS works well and where it doesn't. So the real breakthrough is it used to improve the images in the earlier version. So the new version is about to reconstructing them. That's a big shift. Instead of render everything accurately in 3D and composite later, we are moving towards render something approximate and AI completes the image. And once the image arrives, it's already finished. There is no need to rebuild the render process. That task will start to fade. So that's why it's matter for compositing. What exactly NVIDIA is saying? The marketing is clear. It gives a photoreal lighting, material understanding, and real-time performance. But there are things missing from that story because VFX pipeline are not built for speed. They are built for control. So frequently VFX supervisors or clients asking very picky details. Can you isolate it? Can you tweak that particular area? And can you recreate that certain area again? So DLSS does not currently offer that level of control because it doesn't have any prompting or directional approach to control the render. It's a kind of like a on-off switch mentioned in the demo. DLSS relies heavily on motion vector, depth, and AI model. This works well in a controlled environments like games, but Film VFX deals with imperfect tracing, noisy plates, complex lightings, and integrations. AI system perform best with clean data like games. VFX rarely has a clean data. DLSS is not stimulating physically accurate light. It is predicting what looks correct. That means it can drift, reinterpret, or inconsistent. And in VFX, continuity is everything. So, what actually changed in compositing? Certain area of works will disappear. Heavy AOV workflows like multipass compositing, rebuilding beauty process, denoising and cleanup CG rendering, and pass-based relighting. These exist because render is expensive and inflexible. So DLS reduces this need. What will newly emerge is a different kind of compositing, less about reconstruction and more about evaluation. Instead of adding diffuse pass, specular pass, and all the passes, you will be judging lighting, correcting AI output, and maintaining visual consistency. Compositing becomes more perceptual rather than technical. So that's the biggest industry concern. It's a loss of control. DLSS give you a near final image the moment CG has been rendered, but not necessarily the right one. And without passes, fixing it become harder, adjustments become indirect, and results become less predictable. And there is also a broader concern. If AI models trained on similar data, does the images start to look same across all the 3D renders? Because in an industry built on visual uniqueness, that's not a small issue. My take is DLS5 will reduce CG compositing, but only part that never truly creative. It removes mechanical workflows, technical overhead, and pipeline driven complexity. What it doesn't remove is judgment, taste, problem solving. In fact, it makes those very important because you are not now building the image, you are deciding if the image is right, and that's harder. So, my final thought is DLSS 5 is not the end of CG compositing. It ends a certain type of workflow in compositing. That part around building breaking images apart. So the future moves in opposite direction. Fewer pieces, more interpretation, less control. Unless new tools are restoring it. VFX pipeline won't abandon the old ways, but they will start to bend, and that's where real change begins.